December 2025 spotlights Saturn and Neptune as the two get squared not once, not twice, but 4 times. The month looks slow and frustrating as you face obstacles, handle karmic tests, and learn that patience is often a greater virtue than assertiveness. Let's take a closer look at the month and break down the most important transits for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I am a traditional Hellenistic astrologer specializing in doing readings, creating products, teaching astrology. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Stick around. I create a lot of content and I'm happy to share it with all of you. If you've been here and you're happy with my work, please show your support by leaving me a like, a comment, subscribing, pressing the notification bell. Hype my video. That is a new exciting option. You can do it for free and it puts my video in front of more people, helps me grow. You can also say thank you by buying me a tea, a coffee, or sending some kind of tip and support that way. Thank you so much for anything you do, even if you're just recommending my channel to your friends, thinking happy thoughts about me, wishing me growth. I appreciate all of you. I would like to highlight a couple of things. I am a professional astrologer. I do readings. As you know, if you'd like to book a reading, visit my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. You can get a natal, which is more general, relationship consultation, electional reading, which can help you pick the best moment for your important event, astrocartography, or predictive. In fact, in December and January, I am giving you $20 off the in-person predictive reading with the coupon code 2026. Specifically, that's for year-ahead reading. And you can save $40 on the recorded year-ahead reading by visiting the shop section of my website and picking it up there. You can also join my upcoming predictive astrology course that begins in March, and it can be found in the courses tab of my website. And of course, as the year begins, get yourself equipped to handle the difficult transits and know what's ahead for you by picking up my 2026 planner. It is full of insights about astrology, spaces to write to-do lists. It has breakdowns of every month, every lunation, ritual suggestions, retrograde dates, and so much more. And since December is full of a lot of squares to Saturn and Neptune, like so many, including the new moon, we have 4 planets and the moon making squares to Saturn and Neptune. So it's basically 10 squares to Saturn and Neptune. There is quite a lot of difficult energy this month. I'd love to highlight my Exalted Moon candle. This one captures the moon in a stable sign of Taurus, can calm you down and soothe you in the face of adversity and challenges that you might be facing this month and generally in life. It is perfect for stability, manifestation, and abundance. And I also have this larger version of a lunar candle. This is the moon in Cancer, titled Almond Moon. It captures the moon in rulership versus this is Exalted Moon is the moon that's exalted. Also really lovely for manifesting, improving your sleep, improving your overall emotional well-being. I love moon candles and I light them up all the time. I find that they have the most soothing effect on me. And if you are like me, born with the moon conjunct Chiron or moon in a more difficult position, for you maybe it's Capricorn or Scorpio, the moon conjunct or square or opposite Pluto, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, highly recommend this candle for you. So thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you giving me some time to listen to all of my new things that are coming up. The most exciting is, of course, my upcoming course, because I started teaching as Jupiter entered my 10th house of career, and it's gonna stick. I am liking it a lot, so I'm gonna continue teaching. So come study with me. So today we're talking about December 2025. I think the end of 2025 generally has a lot more quieter energy than the middle of the year. We started 2025 with Uranus in Taurus, Saturn in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces, and then we had a bunch of shifts in the middle of the year, and now at the end of the year we're back where we started, right? The planets all have retrograded back into the same signs. So there's a bit of quiet energy. And when I talked in the introduction of this video about frustrating vibes, that is all of the fact that we have the Sun, Venus, Mars, and Mercury all in Sagittarius, part of December, and they will all square Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. So not only we are retrograding back on many levels and returning to the beginning, to the energy that was similar to the beginning of 2025, there's similar lessons to learn. There's still some finishing lessons, some sort of final questions, final tests we have to complete. So generally, we're going to break this down for all 12 signs, but I also want to go through the month to give you breakdowns of the dates and tell you what might be, what is important to watch out for and how you can maximize those dates. But we do have Mercury in Scorpio until December 11th. It is fresh from the retrograde, so potentially you have learned a lot of lessons. Mercury is making a lovely grand water trine between December 6th and 7th, 2 days before, 2 days after, which can bring support to your mind and enhance your intuition, helping you make decisions from the place of the heart and helping you connect with the right choices. We also have the Sun, like I said, Venus, Mars, Mercury in Sagittarius this month. There's a full moon in Gemini, the new moon in Sagittarius, and a lot of action in Pisces as Neptune turns direct and Saturn is here all month, of course. And then we get Mars, the Sun, and Venus later in the month entering Capricorn while Jupiter is retrograding in Cancer. Okay, so let's take a look at the month chronologically, highlighting some of the important, or I guess most of the important transits. If you ever want to know how this all affects you, book a reading or join my subscription. You can become a subscriber to get monthly consultations with me talking about your month coming up. I can also send you written horoscopes, or you can join my first level of subscription, and that will include daily updates and weekly updates, weekly breakdowns of astrology, helping you understand what's happening astrologically for all of us collectively. Okay, so December 2nd, Venus sextiles Pluto. This is beautiful for creative self-expression, relationships. You're passionate, but you're not forceful. You're excited, but you're not overpowering of other people. This can be good for sort of like gentle evolving and transformation of love, sex, creativity, partnerships of all kinds. On December 4th, we have the full moon in Gemini. This one completes the chapter started with the new moon in Gemini on May 26, 2025, and brings a change in the Gemini sector of your chart. This could be a completion of some kind of intellectual project, change in your ideas. Maybe you're finishing up a project and you're opening yourself up to new beginnings. There may be a sense of questioning the direction because there is a square to the nodes that the moon is making. So you're maybe looking at the facts and the data and wondering how they serve your future and how they support you, and maybe what beliefs are wasteful and what ideas are not worth keeping. But a lot will depend on where it is in your chart, which is something we'll talk about when we do the horoscopes. Between December 6th and 7th, Mercury forms the grand water trine for the third time with Jupiter and Saturn. This is lovely because now Mercury is done with the retrograde, right? It has more clarity, more purpose. So Mercury in a trine to Jupiter and Saturn between December 6th and 7th is perfect for setting on a journey, for planning a trip, for presenting your work, for asking for some kind of growth opportunity that also maybe involves more responsibility, really great for business dealings. And you may have very soulful, important conversations. It can also be the time of like fertility of the mind and abundance of ideas. On December 8th, 4 days before, 4 days after, we begin the dance of planets squaring Saturn and Neptune, and Mars is first to do that. So this can lead to frustration and inhibition, roadblocks, and karmic tests. Basically, this is the month where your motivation and your goals and your visions will be tested time and time again. And if you are persistent, if you are committed, if you know what you want and you take a break, take a beat here and there, take a step back, refine, right, your approach. You can get a lot of success eventually, but the squares to Saturn are not the easiest, and the same goes for squares to Neptune. And so Mars squares Saturn on the 8th, squares Neptune on the 14th. Each of these do 4 days before, 4 days after. And so first you feel like maybe an authority figure or life or something is slowing you down. And then as Mars squares Neptune on the 14th, there's a sense of impotence on many levels and self-doubt and like a tendency to maybe feel thwarted and restricted. And so it's frustrating. It's definitely going to have, and this will repeat as I said. We have Mars square Saturn on the 8th, squaring Neptune on the 14th of the month, and then the Sun does the same on the 16th and the 20th, and then Venus does the same on the 21st and 24th, and Mercury does the same between December 30th and January 1st. So I'm not going to go in as much depth for every single one of those dates. Just keep in mind that the overall vibe of this is there is a no, and then a disappointment. And I would encourage you to not give up. I would encourage you to keep kind of rethinking, right? Especially because like Mars goes through this first between the 14th and the 18th. Between the 8th and the 14th of December. And Mars is the warrior. Mars wants to take action. And Saturn is like, nope, sit down. And then the Sun does the same on the 16th and the 20th, between 16th and 20th. And the Sun is like, I have this vision, I have this ideal. The Sun is in Sagittarius. It's like, I have the fiery spirit. I want to get things done, right? I want to go on a trip. I want to start a business. I want to move to a new country. I want to move in together, whatever it is. And Saturn is like, no, your vision has a lot of flaws in it. It's not realistic. It's not grounded. You're focusing on yourself only. It's not going to happen. And so you're feeling yourself being disappointed. And then Venus makes the same aspect between the 21st and 24th. And now you're looking at your relationships and questioning relationships and going through karmic tests in your relationships this time around. Mercury at the end. And it does feel like difficult. There's definitely a lot of red this month, and I color code things for myself. It's just like one square after another with Saturn and Neptune. So I think for some of you, if you're born with Mars Saturn aspects or Sun Saturn aspects or Venus Saturn or Mercury Saturn, especially difficult ones, you may know how to deal with this the most. But for everyone, this is not a sign to give up. Whatever happens this month, it's not a sign to give up. It's a sign to slow down and take it easy. The ruler of Sagittarius is Jupiter, and Jupiter is retrograde all month. So there's a lot of adjustments going on. It may feel slow. It may feel frustrating. It may feel like you're not making any progress. But the truth is that you may just not see it yet. So this is a big one to keep in mind, and I'm gonna probably repeat these dates, but I'm not gonna go into as much depth just for the sake of time. But I just dedicated a whole couple of minutes to this section. On December 10th, Neptune stations direct, and it begins its exit out of Pisces. It's going to leave Pisces on January 26th. So Neptune stationing direct is the time when it's so interesting because Neptune is going to leave Pisces pretty soon, and it's been in Pisces for like 13, 14 years, so a very long time. And this is your opportunity as Neptune exits Pisces to find some clarity and find some answers to maybe dreams and illusions that you've been entertaining, right? This could, like, Neptune going direct in Pisces could be very much an opportunity to see fulfillment of the dreams. Maybe not quite yet because of the frustrating nature of the month, but it can also be the time when you're like, this is not good for me and I'm going to let it go. Mercury opposes Uranus on December 10th. This has retrograde vibes. Things might break. Conversations might take you the wrong way, leading to breakdowns or breakthroughs. Could be a very electric, revealing, surprising energy, and potentially quite lovely or challenging, depending on how you approach it. December 11th, Mercury trines Neptune, giving you soft, gentle, kind, compassionate speech. You may benefit from Reiki or spiritual healing, meditation, connecting your mind to the universe. Then Mercury enters Sagittarius to stay until January 1st, between December 11th and January 1st. We've done Mercury in Sagittarius before, right? In late October, first half of November, as Mercury entered Sag and stationed retrograde there. So this is, we come back to the same ideas we may have been exploring in early November, late October. And Mercury in Sag is direct, it's fast, it's passionate, it's driven by beliefs and ideals. Watch out for the more challenging side of this Mercury, where when it comes to like speaking without thinking, saying yes to things that you can't really do. I highly recommend my Mercury candles for this, Mercury in Virgo 2 specifically. I have it right there lit up because I'm filming this during Mercury retrograde. And so I use it all the time when Mercury is retrograde. Okay, December 13th, Mercury sextiles Pluto. This is powerful speech. You have kind of, again, sort of like intuitive grasp on the essentials. You can ask people for favors. You can make decisions that are solid and made with good judgment. So use this. December 14th, Mars squares Neptune. As mentioned, this could be like sort of energy of impotence for whatever reason. You feel tired, you feel sick, you just gotten rejected, you are lethargic. So it could be really difficult, but stay patient. On December 15th, Mars enters Capricorn. This is pretty good. This is nice. So I think after Mars goes through a bunch of obstacles, on December 15th, it enters the sign of its exaltation, Capricorn, where it will be until January 23rd. And as the rest of the planets are still face the difficult aspects to Saturn, Mars at least now has ability to prioritize the work, to set the feelings aside, to be strategic, to be analytical, to be pragmatic. And Mars in Capricorn is very good soldier type of energy and committed to the cause and really good at figuring out how to take advantage of the challenges and the possibilities. So this is something that's working, that is on our side. December 16th, the Sun squares Saturn. Again, we're in this place of tests and challenges, restrictions, roadblocks, red light and a no. Amidst that, and the upcoming square to Neptune on the 20th, we get the new moon in Sagittarius on December 19th in a square to Neptune. So it's an interesting new moon. It has a melancholic energy to it as it squares Neptune. The ruler is Jupiter retrograde. So I think we are finding ourselves in a place of adjustment. We've received some kind of information. We've gotten rejected, or we've gotten some type of something didn't quite work out. And so amidst it all, there are opportunities to find faith and to discover faith within yourself, I think. Because of that Jupiter being retrograde and ruling this new moon, you're getting an opportunity to like reconnect with your guiding principles and maybe rethink them. And so it's new beginnings, but it's a little bit like new beginnings that come out of something uncomfortable, especially because of that square to Neptune, and the Sun squares Neptune just the day after the new moon on December 20th. You feel tired, you feel uninspired, you feel disappointed, uncertain, dealing with some kind of dishonesty and maybe feeling hypochondria, and just a very like, take it slow this month, really don't push things. December 21st, Venus squares Saturn. obstacles in relationships, as mentioned. The sun enters Capricorn on the same day, and we hit the winter solstice. So we are reaching the darkest day of the year. Da-da-da-dum. So winter solstice is the energetic shift, right? We are entering the darkest time, but on many levels we're also starting to come out of the darkest time right after that. We're still in the time of year when the dark overtakes us in the northern hemisphere, of course. In the southern hemisphere, you guys are chilling in the middle of the summer. But here in the north, we are in the dark, but starting to see the light. So there's a bit of a energetic transformation happening. Capricorn season is the time to get things done, is the time to get the job done. You are feeling responsible and grounded and ambitious and focused. So the sun, of course, joins Mars and gives us a bit of like, let's get through this type of energy. Like, we've dealt with roadblocks. Let's figure out a plan and a solution. On the 24th of December, Venus squares Neptune. Confusion, deception, insecurity in love, relationships, self-doubt in terms of how you see yourself. Take good care, lean into self-care around this time, but really pretty much all month. And then Venus enters Capricorn as well on December 24th to stay until January 17th. Venus has triplicity dignity in Capricorn, so she can also be quite empowered. We tend to go for people who are loyal, who have long-term potential, people who are ambitious, people who either are already successful or we see as those that can be successful. We're attracted to people who sort of have goals and drive. And Venus in Capricorn is also very much willing to put in the work when it comes to relationships. And the final aspect of the month is Mercury squaring Saturn on December 30th. And like I said, it will square Neptune on January 1st. So now Mercury has to go through the same type of energy where you're addressing some kind of rigidity of the mind, some kind of frustration, negative energy. Maybe you're finding solutions, right? After having faced these aspects 4 times in a row. Maybe there's a chance to find some kind of answers and solutions. So keep that in mind and move slowly this month. Know that it's not a fast month to go, and it's, a lot of like if you push harder, you may actually get more pushback and you'll get more frustrated and you'll burn a lot of energy. If you want to know what all of this means for you personally, book a reading on my website. Take advantage of the 2026 special. Save $20 on the year ahead reading to find out what's coming up for you with the coupon code 2026, or save $40 on the recorded reading in the shop section of my website. So, and pick up all the things, all the fun things. Okay, we're gonna break it down for all 12 signs, starting with Aries rising. If you are an Aries rising, November highlighted your houses of personal finances with a full moon in Taurus. You maybe paid off a debt or got a loan or kind of changed jobs or something. We also had Scorpio season and Mercury retrograding from your 8th into 9th houses. So very strong focus on your values versus the values of others, your money versus the money of others, and potentially some focus on education and travel. So you maybe have been looking at like getting student loans, or figuring, like maybe you've been planning trips with some friends and trying to figure out how to manage people eating different things and having different priorities when it comes to travel. Also maybe some ideological shifts as Jupiter went retrograde and Mercury went retrograde between your 9th and 8th houses. In December, early in the month, we do have Mercury still in Scorpio, your 8th house. It will help you talk about money. It still suggests that your mind is on building partnerships and alliances. And after Mercury has been retrograde, if things felt unfair, if there were some things unsaid when it comes to debts and how much you pay for things and your partner pays for things, or any like, you know, custody and alimony payments, or even work matters. Mercury now that is direct will help you talk about it. We also have the full moon in Gemini, your third house, on December 4th. And this is a completion of the chapter started on May 26th, 2025. So take a look back at late May. The full moon in the third house represents changes in your everyday life. So, you know, it could be as simple and mundane as cleaning out your closet and opening space maybe for something in your apartment, to something more like something bigger, like moving, and so there's a change in your neighborhood. Maybe a sibling comes to live with you, or a sibling moves out, right? With the third house, you might be also taking exams, finishing paperwork, applications you've been submitting, changes to your creative projects, to your blog. Perhaps you're getting recognition for your writing, are all possibilities. But it is all about transformations in your everyday life. So from things you use, to the way you think, to your immediate environment and your relationships with siblings and neighbors, getting more involved in a community, in a local community, becoming more visible somehow is a possibility. Joining my course to learn astrology because you realize that you love it so much. I am teaching a predictive astrology course in March, so visit my website to check it out. And then we have so much, so probably the biggest sector of activity this month is Sagittarius and Pisces, because the Sun is in Sagittarius until December 21st. Venus is there until the 24th of the month. Mars is until the 15th. Mercury is from the 11th of December until January 1st. So a lot is going on in Sagittarius. And there's also a new moon here on December 19th. So for you, Sagittarius is the place of growth and expansion, and it's the place of adventures. So on one level or another, you are discovering your goals and you're thinking of stepping outside of your comfort zone. That might involve travel or moving to a different country. That might involve going back to school or going to school, writing, publishing your work. Maybe you've been writing for a while and you're getting ready to be public with your interests. Ninth house is also connected to law. If you are involved in a legal battle or you're thinking of starting a legal agreement or a legal proceeding, this could be highlighted as well. And religion and philosophy. So for a few of you, this might be about joining your church or becoming a pastor or something along those lines. What makes this frustrating, and generally this month really frustrating, is that all 4 planets in Sagittarius will be squaring Saturn and Neptune in your 12th house. So things will not be easy this month. There's a lot of karmic tests and a lot of challenging obstacles that you will have to face. And even the new moon on the 19th squares Neptune in Pisces in your 12th house. So the obstacles are coming from your sector of blind spots and hidden enemies. Most of the time you are your own enemy, so you'd have to examine how you stand in your own way, what type of things you tell yourself, what type of decisions you make. Do you choose to not face something difficult? Do you choose to stay in? Or are there, sometimes 12th house is also things outside of our control. It is hidden enemies, so it could be you sabotaging yourself. For example, you're getting a chance to travel, but you say no because you say that your friend really needs you to walk their dog. Some kind of reason that can be worked through. Or there is an opportunity, but you maybe have a bad habit that is standing in your way, right? When we're talking about the 12th house, Saturn and Neptune have been in your 12th house for a while. So on many levels, you're maybe even finishing the lessons that Saturn and Neptune represent. Maybe you're committing to your mental health. Maybe you're saying no to drinking too much. Maybe you're ending cycles, but there might be a lot of this month, there might be a lot of inner work that needs to happen. And a lot of these 12th house is a tricky place, right? Because 12th house is the place of sitting alone with your thoughts, processing things, maybe things that happen to you. So there's some healing that still needs to be done. I wonder, with the new moon and planets in Sagittarius, it's kind of like, you know, you get a chance to speak in front of your class or in front of your church, and then there's the square to Saturn and Neptune in the 12th, and you're like, yeah, but I was arrested for underage drinking, and so I shouldn't do it. So you're almost like shoot yourself in the foot, or you doubt yourself too much. Don't let these obstacles and difficulties slow you down too much, but do get ready for things to be a bit more slow and frustrating this month, that is for sure. Neptune goes direct in Pisces, your 12th house, so on December 10th. So if anything, this should help you finish chapters started all the way back in 2012 when Neptune first went into Pisces, or in 2023 when Saturn went into Pisces, and get clear on which dreams are realistic and you should be pursuing versus which ones are not worth your time and need to be released. And finally, we also, from December 15th, we begin to have a lot more action in your professional sector as Mars, then the Sun, then Venus begin to transition into Capricorn. All of this is really positive. It gives you a boost of energy. After you face a bunch of obstacles, you have courage, you have strategy and stamina needed to handle work matters, or look for work, or undertake a business venture, connect with bosses and people in power. So especially from the middle of the month could be a good time to pursue your professional dreams. If you're seeking more, book a reading on my website. Take advantage of my year ahead special. Information is in the description. And of course, come study with me. My course begins in March, and it will be all about predictive astrology. If you are a Taurus rising, November activated your houses of identity with a full moon in Taurus. Maybe some changes to your health, to your personal goals, to your sense of professional satisfaction as well, and your professional goals. And then we had a lot of action in your 7th and 8th houses with the Scorpio season, Sagittarius season, and Mercury retrograding from your 8th into the 7th. So as you've become more familiar with yourself and you've connected with your personal goals, certain changes also happened in your relationships. From romantic transformations, right? Maybe a new relationship came into your life, a new business agreement, a change in your partner's life, and then amidst all of that, you needed to reprioritize, rethink priorities, discuss money matters, especially if it's like a new business partnership or even a romantic relationship, right? There could have been, like, let's say you're buying a property with your significant other, but you're maybe not married. So you had to navigate, how do you get into this together, and how do you share the property, and what happens if you do get married, what happens, like there could have been a lot of conversations happening around priorities and values, and like, how do we fit together, right? Intimately, professionally, in business. In December, some of that continues with Mercury in Scorpio until December 11th, your 7th house. It helps you talk and negotiate and sign contracts and kind of be clear about what you want. It also boosts your relationships of all kinds, especially as Mercury forms the final grand water trine with Jupiter and Saturn between December 4th and 9th. Quite a positive one, especially because it's done with the retrograde and you've learned a lot and you've learned how to negotiate. So if you've waited to sign a contract or get in bed with someone romantically or in business, it could be a good time. There's a full moon in Gemini, your second house of money, on December 4th. It squares the nodes, which is quite interesting. Gives it karmic undertones, sort of quite important, soulful full moon. And it completes the chapter started with the new moon in Gemini on May 26th. So reflect on that. And if you remember something, let me know in the comments below. The full moon in the second house brings changes, transformations to your finances and values. Gaining money, getting a bonus, getting an increase of your salary, a raise. That's what it's called in one word. Spending money, paying off a debt, making an investment, buying something major, right? Changes in priorities and goals are also possible. I would be really curious to see if you wanted to sort of reflect on what was that May new moon about. And then the most frustrating, arguably, two houses this month is Sagittarius and Pisces, your 8th and 11th. And so there's a lot of action in Sagittarius. The Sun, Venus, Mars, and Mercury are all there. So all month it's active and busy. And this suggests that your mind is very intimately connected to other people. You're hiring new people to work for you. You're joining other people's companies as a business partner. You're paying off debts. You're planning trips with your friends, whatever it might be. There's just a lot of focus on working with others, collaborating, creating, even just hanging out with others. However, and what's interesting, there's also a new moon in your 8th house on December 19th, which also suggests that you're very keen to join your money, your ideas, your business and your name with somebody else in marriage, in partnership, in a school project. A lot of possibilities. Doesn't have to be super like major life-changing things, but could be. Yet there are all these squares from Mars, from the Sun, from the new moon, from Venus, from Mercury to Saturn and Neptune in your 11th house. And so your alliances may be requiring more work, and people around you, especially friends and like your fans or people you expect to be in your corner, maybe somehow not showing up for you this month. So friendships will get tested, collaborations will get tested. It's not to say that they will not happen and they will not work out, but you may realize in the process who is a true friend and who is not. And even certain pursuits will be questionable sometimes, right? Because Saturn and Neptune are both in your 11th house. They're connected to community and your dreams that involve the world at large. And as Neptune turns direct here on December 10th and completes its 13-year-long journey through Pisces, it first went in 2012, it will be very revealing in terms of practical and realistic dreams, in terms of true friendships, and a little bit of delusion and confusion. It can also reveal that some of your passions that you've acquired in the last 13 years, right, since it first went into Pisces, which ones of them are true passions and which ones of them are not, which ones of them maybe are wasteful, like you've been you've been buying old cars, old toy cars, thinking that one day they're going to cost a lot of money, but then you realize that, hey, no, actually they're just losing their value. At the same time, maybe you realize that, oh, I've been so obsessed with astrology for a while, I'm going to go study it with Anastasia because she begins a predictive course in March. Who knows? Maybe that's exactly what you're thinking. And if you are, I promise to do it justice and teach you how to read your future and predict what's coming up for you. From the middle of the month, we also begin to see the shifts of planets from Sagittarius into Capricorn as Mars, the Sun, and Venus all enter your 9th house. This is positive for expanding your life through education, studying, taking courses. Here you go, come study with me. Through travel, maybe you're planning to go on a trip. Through law, any legal matters, visas, applications that you're looking at, applying for scholarships, applying for grants, and writing and publishing, as well as religion. All of those can be important at the end of the year. Maybe you're planning a fun trip. Share if you are. For more, visit my website to book a reading, to join my course, or to pick up a subscription to get your monthly or weekly updates of what's coming up astrologically and astrological weather. If you are a Gemini rising, November brought a lot of attention to your houses of work, health, and service with Scorpio season, and the full moon in Taurus activated your house of mental health, spirituality, and blind spots, as well as self-defeating tendencies. So I think you've done a lot of corrections and refinement when it comes to your health and habits, and maybe had a chance to improve your mental health routines as well. Start meditating, or definitely, it was, I think, highlighting the connection between spiritual and physical in your life. And Sagittarius season, including Mercury retrograde, highlighted your 7th house of relationships, encouraging adjustments and important conversations and renegotiating of some of the contracts and agreements. Maybe some of you had an ex come back into your life, or an old partnership reappear. In December, Mercury is in Scorpio the first 11 days of the month, fresh from the retrograde, full of clarity and ideas, helping you improve Scorpio sector, your 6th house. You are full of ideas how to take better care of your health, how to streamline your work routines. You're maybe decluttering actively, paying your bills, doing your laundry, and coming up with new ways of doing things. Financial rewards are also possible around December 4th and 9th, as Mercury forms the final grand water trine with Jupiter in your 2nd house and Saturn in your 10th. Maybe the projects you're wrapping up and ideas you're coming up with are professionally related, work related. There's a full moon in Gemini, your 1st house of health, physical body, and identity, on December 4th. It completes the chapter started in May, late May, with a new moon in Gemini, and represents a change in your physicality. So maybe you've been working out really hard and you now see that you can hold a plank for 10 minutes. Maybe you've been eating really healthy to get your cholesterol down, and you get your check and you find out that it is down and you've done the work. So overcoming a health issue, transforming your body, changes to your style and image and brand are all possible with this full moon in your 1st house. Now to the more difficult part of the month, and that is the Sagittarius planet squaring Saturn and Neptune. Not gonna lie, work and bosses and your professional sector can feel really, really frustrating this month, to a point that it might begin to affect your relationships. So we have the Sun, Venus, Mars, and Mercury in Sagittarius at some point or another this month. And there's also a new moon here. So your focus, your attention, your desires, and your conversations are all tied to your relationships. You're very focused on partnering up and signing contracts, and maybe even beginning a business and finding clients. You're looking at how you can work with others. However, there is this square to Saturn and Neptune, and it happens again and again and again, about 10 times this month, if you consider that Mars, the Sun, the Moon, Venus, and Mercury all square Saturn and Neptune. And so what this feels like is there is something restrictive in your career sector, maybe something you haven't fully worked through yet, maybe a boss, maybe an obligation you have, maybe an old partnership, like you started a business with someone and you are still tied with them. So you will definitely see a lot of opportunities to shake away frustrations, but I think you will feel restricted on many levels. There's going to be something this month where your work, bosses, authority figures, people in power, even maybe the image you present to the world, all feel like they're holding you back. And so with Jupiter ruling the new moon, and with Jupiter ruling all the planets in Sagittarius and Jupiter being retrograde, this is an opportunity to move slowly and navigate things with patience, and just don't force things, and try to be like, try to take a step back and problem solve and figure it out. Neptune goes direct in your 10th house of career on December 10th and begins to move out of Pisces, completing the 13-year-long chapter. This is interesting because Neptune in the 10th and Saturn is about to leave your 10th house. So whatever work battles you've been facing for the last 2.5 years, or maybe even since 2012, are about to be done. And Neptune going direct here is going to be very eye-opening in terms of which dreams are worth connecting to and pursuing. For example, maybe you decide to study astrology. I am teaching a predictive course in March. Come study with us. Or maybe you realize that you've been investing a lot of time in beekeeping, but it's not really bringing you any joy and you keep getting stung. Maybe you need to get a better gear. But there's just something about like dreams when it comes to career. It will be clear what is realistic and what is not. And then we're getting quite interesting positive transits as Mars enters the sign of its exaltation, Capricorn, on December 15th. The Sun follows and Venus follows later in the month, activating your 8th house of debts, loans, taxes, shared finances. Mars here can give you a very strategic, disciplined, diligent approach to money. You are paying off debts, you are renegotiating your insurance payment, renegotiating your mortgage, you are driven to collaborate with others and driven to talk about things that are maybe uncomfortable. Could be lovely if you are a content creator and an astrologer or tarot reader. You're like telling people what's going on in their love lives potentially. But it can also give you a nice awareness of your relationships with others and what is unfair. So romantically, partnerships, at work, friendships, even family, because 8th house are these intimate relationships where you give me this, I give you that, and how do we work together? How does all of it fit? For more, visit my website to book a reading. Take advantage of my year ahead special. Information is in the description. And come study. Come. If you are a Cancer rising, November brought a lot of attention to your house of romance and pleasure. Maybe you've dated and maybe you've explored your passions and connected with your childlike wonder. There was also a full moon in Taurus, your 11th house. So another sector of transformations would have been your friendships, your networks, your community. Perhaps you stepped out of a role of, let's say you were like a judge of elections in your hometown, maybe you wrapped that up, or maybe a friendship has gone through a shift and a transformation. And then there is also a lot of attention on your work, health, and service, even your pets during Sagittarius season. And as Mercury retrograded from Sagittarius to Scorpio, a lot of questions around what type of work brings me joy and how can I better use my passions and gifts to have a better, more fulfilled career potentially. In December, early in the month until December 11th, Mercury is still in Scorpio, your 5th house, fresh from the retrograde, full of downloads and insights and knowledge and clarity. If you've been dealing with some kind of relationship confusion, miscommunications with your child, uncertainty about the future of your child and which school they need to go to, or a sense of like a lack of inspiration, Mercury going direct and being in your 5th house the first 11 days of the month could be really helpful, especially as it forms a grand water trine with Jupiter and Saturn between December 4th and 9th. I think it will help you really, and do pay attention. Pay attention to what excites you, what puts a smile on your face. Because in relationships, in creative self-expression, this could be very telling. This could show you like, oh, this is actually what I love to do. Maybe I should do it full time. Oh, I love watching astrology videos. Maybe I should join Anastasia's predictive astrology course in March 2026 and learn how to forecast my future and become an astrologer for my whole family. Not saying you have to do it, but also why not? If someone gave you a superpower, would you say no to it? Astrology is a superpower. Anyways, I digress. So Mercury gives you ability to communicate, can also maybe bring more action in your love life, more dates and more messages from people you like. There's a full moon in Gemini, your 12th house, on December 4th. It completes the chapter started with the new moon in Gemini on May 26th, so about 6 months ago. And it highlights your house of blind spots and your self-defeating tendencies and bad habits, your house of mental health. So there may be some kind of illumination here. You realize that you spend too much time on your phone, or you don't reach out to a friend or mad because you wait for them to get over it and then they get even more mad, right? So there may be some kind of realization, breakthrough in therapy, maybe even a chance to kick a bad habit or transform or heal something, I think is quite likely here. Now to the more frustrating portion of the month, and that is there's a lot of planets in Sagittarius, your 6th house of work, health, and service. There's also a new moon here on December 19th. And you're driven to improve your life. You're very health conscious. You're maybe starting to work out or looking for a new job, or really want to like commit to studying about wellness and diet and nutrition. Yet 5 planets this month will all square Saturn and Neptune. And those are not easy aspects. So Saturn and Neptune are in your 9th house, and the obstacles to your vision, your Sagittarian vision and mission, may be coming from the sector of travel. Your visa gets rejected. From the sector of education, you're applying to get into a nutrition program, but they're telling you that you missed the deadline. There may be some teachers, some mentors, some gurus, some priests, and religious figures that are instilling fear in you, or some kind of like stressful people. So take this, be warned, right? Know that this month will have a lot of frustrating roadblocks and slow energy. And it also kind of makes sense if you think that the ruler of both Sagittarius and Pisces is Jupiter, currently retrograde. So as the world says no, as there are obstacles, as there are karmic tests, go within, reconnect with yourself, take care of you, lean into self-care, be compassionate for yourself and other people, and take a beat. Trust that with time, the answers will come and it will be easier. In fact, Neptune goes direct on December 10th in Pisces, your 9th house. So it can begin on many levels. It's only got another month and a half left in Pisces, and it's going to complete chapter started in 2012 and will bring a shift. It can offer you a chance to move. It can offer you a chance to study, but it's just December is very much not yet type of energy, slow down type of energy. Frustrating, but it doesn't have to be only frustrating. Mars on December 15th enters Capricorn, the sign of its exaltation. The Sun follows on the 21st, Venus follows on the 24th. And this is powerful for your love life. It's really good for dating. It's really good for making moves in a relationship. It's really good for partnerships and one-on-one connections of all kinds. It doesn't just need to be relationships. Really lovely for contract negotiation, for reaching out to people, asking them for help. And you're very strategic with all of that. You're very kind of good and diligent. Mars is going to be in Capricorn between December 15th and January 23rd. So you get a month and a half. Take advantage of that. And take advantage of my year ahead special to save $20 on the in-person year ahead reading with the code 2026. or pick up a recorded one and save $40 on the recorded one. It's in my shop. And check out my courses, check out my products, 2026 planner, and everything else. All of that is on my website. If you are a Leo rising, November highlighted your private sector of home and family, increasing activity in your family life, and brought transformations in your career as we got the full moon in Taurus in the beginning of November. Mars, Mercury retrograde, and the Sun in Sagittarius highlighted your 5th house as you dated or connected with people you like, or maybe you even explored your passions and taken up dancing or any other creative gifts. Of course, there was also Mercury retrograde in November and Jupiter stationed retrograde, so maybe there was some confusion in the relationships and in the family dealings, and not everything was clean and simple. The good news is Mercury stations direct on November 29th, and in December it stays 11 days until December 11th in Scorpio, your 4th house. So since it's fresh from the retrograde, it has clarity, it has self-awareness, it has some answers, an ability to communicate with honesty and attention to detail necessary. So Mercury being here until December 11th can help you make decisions around property, real estate, talk to family, figure out some kind of solutions. Mercury here can also be a sign of healing, especially as it forms a grand water trine, the final grand water trine with Jupiter and Saturn in your Jupiter is in your 12th, Saturn is in your 8th. Can also be a really great transit for talking to a therapist, processing childhood wounds, figuring out how you might still be carrying some of the challenges of your childhood with you. There's a full moon in Gemini, your 11th house, on December 4th. It completes the chapter started on May 26, 2025. So let us know, what was that about? The full moon in the 11th represents a completion of a dream project, whether it's because you're done with it and you're making something you've been working on public, or it's because you are giving up on it. You're like, this is not really what I'm enjoying. This is the old me. It doesn't feel right anymore. Especially because there's a square to the nodes with this full moon. It kind of has this karmic energy. Changes in the life of your friends, changes in friendships are also possible, as maybe some adjustments need to be made, some important conversations. Perhaps you've been realizing that a friend has been making a lot of snarky comments and being judgy, and you're feeling like you've had enough, or there is some kind of imbalance of generosity in a relationship. Whatever it might be, you're examining your friendships and alliances, as well as changes in the time you spend on social media potentially are in store. So the more frustrating portion of the month is the entire month. Just kidding. But it kind of is. So on one side of the story, we have the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars in Sagittarius, your 5th house. And there's also a new moon here on December 19th. And you are playful and creative, and you have all these ideas, and you want to have fun and maybe go on trips or paint and draw and just like date, right? And just go on some kind of fun cruise with the person you love, or I don't know, have a party or something like that. Yet, all of these planets, including the new moon on December 19th, will square Saturn and Neptune in Pisces in your 8th house. And so Saturn and Neptune have been in Pisces for a long time. Saturn since March 2023, Neptune since 2012. So it will be frustrating because potentially you're dealing with some kind of debts that are slowing you down, or there is a disagreement on how to throw this party, or you and your partner are not seeing eye to eye. there's some kind of no that may be coming your way from the house of other people. So you've been planning a party and your landlord is like, no, you're not allowed. Or you want to go on a trip and your partner is like, no, I want to save to upgrade my car or something. So there might be your desire for fun and pleasure and even like love and relationships will get tested. There are a lot of karmic tests this month, but I think because we've been dealing with Saturn and Neptune for so long, maybe these are the final lessons. Maybe these are like, oh, okay, you know, if I can't do this in this place, or if I have debts and I am not able to afford it, let's figure out a compromise. Let's figure out a solution, a workaround. And I like also that Neptune actually stations direct on December 10th and begins its way out of your 8th house. It's going to leave on January 26th. So Neptune in the 8th can actually be the sign that you're coming out of a delusional stage if you've been believing that there are certain people that you can rely on, or you've been holding some beliefs close to heart. Neptune stationing direct can actually clarify to you who you can rely on versus who is not showing up for you. So there may be some roadblocks and a lot of difficult conversations or experiences, including relationship challenges when Venus squares Saturn and Neptune on December 21st and 24th. But I think it's going to be very eye-opening and ultimately healing and helpful for you. So be patient and get ready for things to be challenging and irritating this month. In good news, Mars enters Capricorn, the sign of its exaltation, and its house of joy on December 15th and stays here until January 23rd, and then the Sun and Venus follow Mars later in the month. And this gives you stamina, energy, courage, persistence, and strategy needed to take care of work, maybe even look for new work, improve your work conditions, to take care of health. You may notice that you suddenly are driven to lift weights and go running and do yoga, and just sort of like you have a lot of oomph to you. And you may also find yourself spending a lot more time with your colleagues or people you work with. Maybe also spending more time with your pets, because that's under the umbrella of the 6th house. So please share how this resonates. Join my course. My predictive astrology course begins in March 2026. And take advantage of my year ahead special. The information is in the description. If you are a Virgo rising, November brought a lot of attention to your 3rd house of siblings, neighbors, communication, writing, as you took exams or finished writing projects, spent time with siblings, hung out with your neighbors. There was also a full moon in Taurus, your 9th house, encouraging some kind of adjustment in your beliefs and your guiding principles. Maybe, again, completion of education, completion of writing projects, travel, looking at your car and fixing little things in your environment that are actually connected to your larger vision. And then there was a lot of action in your 4th house of home, family, property, real estate during Sagittarius season. And as Mercury retrograded from Sagittarius into Scorpio, you may have found yourself revisiting some old conversations with family or revisiting some home improvement projects as well. Mercury is finally direct, goes direct on November 29th, and until December 11th, it is in Scorpio, your 3rd house. So you have Mercury, which is your chart ruler, full of downloads and insights and clarity, helping you problem solve. Every technology that was glitchy, every miscommunications you've dealt with, every car or travel or like education writing issue you had to deal with, you're now able to problem solve. So you're moving forward with knowledge and clarity. I especially like December 4th into December 9th as Mercury forms the final grand water trine with Jupiter and Saturn. Feels like there is very harmonious, at least around that time, relationship energy, and you can get answers and advice and solutions from your friends and allies and partners. The full moon in Gemini, your 10th house of career, on December 4th completes the chapter started on May 26th. and brings a shift in your professional life. You get promoted, you start a new job, you quit your job, you start a business, you get a pay bump, for example. It does square the nodes between your 1st and 7th houses, so your angular houses are very, very active, all 4 of them. And I think as you're going through shifts with South Node in your 1st house and you're letting go of outdated beliefs and too rigid views of yourself, there is naturally perhaps space opening up in your career and professional life for something new. Forgive me. And for some of you, maybe the new thing is studying astrology with me. My new course, Predictive Astrology, begins in March 2026. So join us to learn how to forecast your future. But yeah, something is changing in your career. And whether it's because you're celebrating that you're on the right path or you're feeling like an adjustment is needed, that will depend. Simultaneously, the month is full of difficult karmic tests as the planets in Sagittarius square Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. Not gonna lie, we have 10 squares from Sagittarius into Pisces between the Sun, the Moon, Mars, Venus, and Mercury. So it's a lot. It's rough. And it may feel like you're getting a lot of no's, a lot of obstacles, and maybe not getting a ton of support because Saturn and Neptune are in your 7th house of partnerships and relationships, or you feel like people you normally rely on and trust to hold your hand the most are not coming through and are actually being frustrating and restrictive and limiting. So Sagittarius planets are in your 4th house. There's a new moon here on December 19th, and you're very much thinking about moving, you're thinking about buying a property or selling a property, renovating, redecorating, moving in with your family or having a family member move in with you. All the while, there is 10 squares to Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. And either you and your partner don't see eye to eye, or your partner says no to your family moving in with you, or there is some other kind of obstacle to the progress that will remain to be seen, but there's definitely a lot of restrictive and challenging energy. The good news is we've been dealing with Saturn and Neptune in Pisces for a long time. Saturn since March 2023, Neptune since 2012, and so perhaps by now you are like, okay, I've been through this, I've seen this before, I know how to handle it. So be patient, be ready for things to be irritating and frustrating, but know that it's not gonna last necessarily. Saturn just wants you to slow down and like actually figure out whether that is what you want to do, because Sagittarius and Pisces are both ruled by Jupiter. That's where the squares are happening. And Jupiter is currently retrograde. So do you even want to expand your home? Do you even want to buy a new property? Maybe all you want is just go to the beach and live by the beach, right? So be slow this month and be discerning. Neptune goes direct in Pisces, your 7th house, on December 10th and begins its final month and a half in Pisces since 2012, completing chapters that are so long. And so this can bring a sense of clarity in your relationship sector. This can offer, sometimes it's like rose-colored glasses come off and you realize that this is not what I want, this relationship. I've been sacrificing and giving too much of myself. Versus at other times, you can be like, well, we're flawed, we're imperfect, but I feel such a strong connection with you. Let's talk it out and let's move forward and let's be together through the difficulty and the challenges and the good times. On December 15th, Mars enters Capricorn, your 5th house, and the sign of its exaltation. The Sun follows on the 21st and Venus follows on the 24th. And that gives you energy, courage, and charm to date, if that's what you're interested in. There might be your love life might be speeding up and your Sex life might be speeding up as well. There may be more creative passions, and suddenly you're like going hiking and planning a trip, and you're painting, and you're hanging out with kids. Making kids are also very, very possible here. But whatever it is, you're just driven to have fun. You're like, oh my God, this has been so frustrating. What can I do to enjoy myself when maybe some things are not going according to plan? If you're seeking more, visit my website to book a reading, join my predictive course, take advantage of the Year Ahead special in December and January. You can save $20 off the in-person Year Ahead reading with the coupon code 2026, or save $40. I need water. Save $40 by getting the recorded reading that's also deeply personal to you. That one, I recommend checking out my shop for that. If you are a Libra rising, November brought a lot of attention to your sector of personal values and finances as you paid off debts, made investments, figure out new money-making opportunities, as well as changes to your shared finances as you partnered up with others, paid off maybe any sort of joint debts and things like that, and transformed how you share, perhaps renegotiated some agreements and some contracts during the full moon in Taurus, your 8th house. We also had a lot of action in your 3rd during Sagittarius season. And Mars was in Sagittarius all month. Mercury went retrograde in the 3rd house. So perhaps you were extra busy, dealt with a lot of appointments, a lot more messages, handled communications with other people, but also figured out that you needed to slow down and rethink how you handle things, because maybe technology was breaking and there was a lot of misunderstandings with people. Perhaps even you've been writing something and you got inspired to rewrite, refine, and redo. Professionally, as well, as Jupiter turned retrograde, I think there was a suggestion of taking things slow. In December, Mercury is done with the retrograde, and it is now direct in Scorpio, your 2nd house, until December 11th. This should give you kind of like clarity of the mind and ability to make money through your communication. So selling things, promoting things, talking, even booking maybe some gigs where you have to speak about something important, making investments, talking about financial dealings with other people, all of that is highlighted, and you kind of get the support of people in power and maybe opportunities to problem solve together with others, especially between December 6th and 7th, 2 days before and after, as Mercury forms the final 3rd grand water trine with Jupiter and Saturn. Maybe you want to discuss with your homeowners association a change in your apartment layout. And so this could be a good time to be like, this could be good for all of us, right? Because you help me, I help you, or something like that. There's a full moon in Gemini, your 9th house, on December 4th, completing the chapter started in late May with a new moon in Gemini. And it suggests some kind of completion, change when it comes to education. Maybe you're finishing a course of study. Maybe you're finishing teaching like I am. I'm finishing my first course in late November, so it's super, super exciting. My 2nd class begins in March, and it's going to be all about predictive astrology using transit, solar return, annual profections to forecast your future. Join us. But yeah, the full moon in the 9th house could be about completing an application for a scholarship, getting a scholarship, getting into school, starting studying, but more like maybe finishing studying or teaching. There could be changes in travel matters, in visas applications, maybe even an ideological shift around this time, because 9th house represents your beliefs and your guiding principles. So the full moon in the 9th can very much be literal, right? Like you're involved in some kind of legal battle and it completes, or you've been in school and you graduate. But it can also be a little bit more spiritual and philosophical. Now to the more complicated part of the month, or the entirety of the month, and that is the fact that we have 4 planets, or 5 if you count the moon, in Sagittarius this month, and they all square Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. all throughout the month, starting on December 8th, ending on January 1st. So this is the vibe. This is the strong, very strong, frustrating, restrictive energy that we're going to have to face this month. And the planets in Sagittarius are all about third house is your everyday life, and there is maybe new passions, new hobbies, new interests, new skills that you want to explore, new ideas, and somehow they get blocked or restricted or delayed or complicated by health issues. You may be planning to go on a trip, on a road trip, and then you get sick. Tech issues, your car may break down. Work matters, there may be too much going on, your schedule might be overwhelming. People in power are saying no to you, right? There is a lot of, this month has very much like karmic test energy. Your relationships will also get tested because Venus is one of the 5 planets on December 21st and 24th that squares Saturn and Neptune. So it's a very kind of like take it slow energy this month, especially because Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, Pisces is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is retrograde. So if things feel frustrating, it's because you're not meant to be pushing. You're meant to sit down, put down your sword, and take a beat, relax, figure it out. The good news is the fact that we've been dealing with Saturn and Pisces since March 2023. We've been dealing with Neptune and Pisces since 2012. So it's not a new fight. It's the fight that you've been in for the last 2.5 years very actively with Saturn and Neptune both. So maybe some answers come out of it. Maybe you realize that what's the point to even keep fighting with these people? They're being so frustrating. Let me quit this job and go start my own thing. Become an astrologer after studying with yours truly. Anyways, Neptune also turns direct in Pisces on December 10th and begins its final month and a half here. So Neptune in your 6th could be the moment you gain clarity about a health issue, the moment you understand what is the time waster versus what is a solid dream, right? Neptune has been in your 6th since 2012, and it could have been the time when you committed to doing yoga or meditating, or you brought astrology as part of your everyday life. So I think Neptune here going direct will clarify and increase your desire to do work that helps and serves those in need, to help animals, and to have this kind of soulful spiritual practice in your life, whatever it might be. Mars enters the sign of its exaltation Capricorn on December 15th. Will stay here until January 23rd, 2026. Can't believe that it's so close. And then the Sun follows and Venus follows, and all of them highlight your 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate. So it gives you energy to do home improvement projects, to make changes, to tear up wallpaper, paint the walls, redecorate, buy property, sell property. You're likely to see family a lot more, talk to family a lot more. Maybe you're traveling to see them or they're coming to see you. And 4th house is also this place of sort of comfort and security and feeling at ease. So you might be becoming more clear about what that ease and comfort, what does it mean for you, and taking actions to bring that into your life. Maybe arguing with family a little bit more, but it's an exalted Mars, so it should be more helpful than frustrating. For more, visit my website, take advantage of the year ahead reading sale. Information is in the description, and pick up my lovely planner and my soothing exalted moon candle or almond moon. If you are a Scorpio rising, November highlighted your houses of self during Scorpio season, maybe brought attention to your health and how you treat yourself, your style, your goals and ambitions, especially during Mercury retrograde. There was a full moon in your house of relationships, so it could have suggested changes in your romantic life or in the life of your partner. If it's not a romantic partner, it could have been your business partner. And we also had a lot of action in your financial sector. You maybe spent more, you maybe made more, you maybe felt a little bit more impulsive with how you make money or spend money. And then later during the retrograde stage of Mercury, maybe you've slowed down a little bit and you took a beat to rethink what is worth your time and your investments. Mercury goes direct on November 29th, and until December 11th, it is in Scorpio, your first house. So you've been doing all this reflection, and with Mercury direct, it's like your voice comes back. It's almost like you put your voice away, like Ariel did. She gave her voice to Ursula to go up to the surface, Little Mermaid stuff. And so now your voice is back and you're speaking about your goals, you're talking about yourself, you're being more self-aware. And December 6th and 7th, 2 days before and after, as Mercury forms the third and last grand water trine with Jupiter and Saturn, are especially benevolent for any kind of negotiations, for any sort of action that involves studying, pleasure, love, children as well. Maybe you're talking about children and how you feel when it comes to kids, having kids, or you're talking to your child. There's just be ready for important conversations early in the month. There is a full moon in Gemini, your 8th house, on December 4th. It calls back to the new moon in Gemini on May 26th, earlier in the year. And it offers you a chance to transform something in how you relate to other people. So this could be spiritual, right? This could suggest that you're letting go of some fears when it comes to partnerships, when it comes to letting someone in and being vulnerable with someone else. Or maybe there are changes in your partner's finances. They just got a new job and now they're making more, or they just got fired. Now you need to figure out how you're going to pay the same bills when it's just you bringing the money in. Maybe you're paying off a debt. Maybe you're kind of letting go of an uncomfortable situation. Let's not forget that Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury has just finished its retrograde and it's in your first house. So it feels like whatever is unfair, whatever is holding you back and restricting you is going to be revealed during the time of this full moon on December 4th. And maybe even, I always kind of think of the 8th house as like either you're getting more entangled with others and more enmeshed with other people, or you're saying goodbye to something that's like toxic and unhealthy. Sagittarius planets all square Pisces planets this month, and this is really frustrating, and it's happening nonstop throughout the entire month, so buckle up. But we have the Sun, Venus, Mars, and Mercury on and off throughout the month in Sagittarius, your second house. There's a new moon here on December 19th, and you maybe have new ideas. You've realized that you want to grow flowers and sell flowers, or you have a plan to pay off your debt. You're consulted an advisor and you're setting 10% of your income every week to pay off your debt. Yet, Mars, the Sun, the Moon, Venus, Mercury will all square Saturn and Neptune in your 5th. And so your plan or your vision or even your income will get obstructed, called by, restricted somehow by your love life and something that's happening with the partner. Again, if the partner is maybe struggling financially, maybe they need some help from you and that affects your financial plans. Maybe a child needs some kind of like urgent school supplies or something. Like there might just be something that's happening with children, with relationships. Even maybe a need to talk about some values when it comes to those things. And maybe there's like a lack of understanding and a lot of frustration this time around. Neptune turns direct on December 10th in Pisces, your 5th house, and begins to exit Pisces. It's going to leave on January 26th. So at the very least, we have Neptune being direct and offering some clarity. It can help you realize which fantasies were just illusions, which relationships were full of self-sacrifice from you and not so much sacrifice from others. It can also bring clarity when it comes to parenthood and being a parent, or if a child has been dealing with something, it can help them. What I'm seeing this month is the fact that Sagittarius planets square Pisces planets, right? And it's really sort of brings a lot of karmic tests. However, they're both, Sagittarius and Pisces are both ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is currently retrograde in Cancer, in your 9th house. So it's not the month to be assertive. It's not the month to be pushing. It's not the month to expect things to go fast because of these constant, like, you go forward, square, you get pushed back. You go forward, you get pushed back. So take a beat, rethink, slow down, and the answers will come. Mars transitions into Capricorn on December 15th for about a month and a week. Until January 23rd, it's going to be in Capricorn. The Sun enters on the 21st and Venus follows on the 24th. All highlight your 3rd house. So this encourages more communication. It speeds up your life. Mars in the 3rd, I'm dealing with this right now. It's just so many ideas, so many messages, so many emails. And it could be exciting. Mars is exalted in Capricorn, so it's gonna provide a little bit of like restrictive force that can actually be helpful. But you gotta watch out for driving too fast, for getting in fights with people, for like taking on too much, because it could be irritating. And conflicts with siblings, as well as being more involved with siblings, I think is potentially likely. For more, visit my website to join my upcoming predictive astrology course. Begins in March 2026. You will learn how to foretell your future with solar returns, transits, and annual perfections. You can also take advantage of my year ahead reading deal. Information is in the description, or pick up any of my lovely creations. I am a very creative astrologer. This is who I am. If you are a Sagittarius rising, November highlighted your sectors of physical and mental health, revealing how your tendency to maybe suppress things results in physical ailments, and how your tendency to take on too much results in poor mental health. So there could have been a lot of action there during the full moon in Taurus. Full moon in Taurus could have also suggested changes in your work life as you finished a difficult project, quit a job, or maybe committed to taking better care of yourself. And then we had Sagittarius season, Mercury retrograding in Scorpio and Sagittarius. So yeah, full moon in Taurus activated your house of physical health, work, health, and service. And then Scorpio season, I may have said Sagittarius, but yeah, Scorpio season brought awareness to your mental health. And then we had Mars all month in your 1st house. So it could have given you energy to assert yourself and to explore new dreams, especially those that involved education and guiding people and maybe traveling. However, Mercury going retrograde revealed that there's still some unresolved things that maybe involve mental health, spirituality, that you needed to fix. So maybe you started the month strong and excited, but then things turned around and some kind of frustration appeared on your path, right? Something you had to address. So Mercury goes direct on November 29th, and in December until December 11th, it is direct in Scorpio, your 12th house. So Mercury here, it also forms the final grand water trine with Jupiter and Saturn, your 8th and 4th houses, between December 6th and 7th, 2 days before, 2 days after. It could be very good for deeper seeing. So you're like seeing beyond what meets the eye. And it can benefit your family relationships and your romantic relationships. And it can kind of encourage you to talk about things that are hidden and private. And maybe also can help you heal. Like I really like Mercury, especially in that trine with Jupiter and Saturn, as a chance to like talk through things in therapy and maybe process grief and loss, as well as connect with your interest for astrology, right? It can maybe make it clear for you that you have spiritual gifts, and it can encourage you to explore those spiritual gifts a little bit more. Speaking of exploring them more, I am teaching my level 2 predictive astrology course. It begins in March. So come join us and discover how to foretell your future. This way you can also foretell the future of people in your life. But sorry, I digress. There's a full moon in your relationship house on December 4th in Gemini. It completes the chapter started in late May 2025 and brings changes to your relationships and partnerships. If you've been dating around, this could be the time you commit to a relationship, get engaged, married. If you've been in a significant relationship, it can herald a transformation in your partner's life, something that they are, maybe, you know, their job is changing or they're moving, something transforms, and as a result, your relationship transforms. And if you're not in a romantic relationship, this could also be about a business partnership or a contract you have with your cleaning person. It can, for sure. Seventh house is any kind of one-on-one significant relationship you enter in. The more challenging energy this month is the fact that the Sun, Venus, Moon, Mars, and Mercury in Sagittarius, your first house, all will square Saturn and Neptune at some point. And this is an ongoing, all throughout December, even taking us in the very beginning of January. So planets in the first house, planets in Sagittarius are in your first house. And there's a new moon here. And you've done a lot of soul searching, right, during the retrograde of Mercury. And you maybe have come up with some answers. Mercury is in your first house between December 11th and January 1st, and you're driven to talk about yourself. You have a sense of purpose. It could be connected to your physical body and your health. You realize that you want to exercise and you want to eat healthy and you want to build the stronger, more empowered version of yourself. Or it could be connected to your plans to move to a different destination or start a new job, start a business. However, the entire month, these planets run into a square to Saturn and then a square to Neptune, a square to Saturn, a square to Neptune. And those guys are hanging out in your fourth house of home, family, and living situation. So home and family may feel really heavy this month in December. There may be some obstacles, like a family member gets sick and you were planning to start working out and now you cannot. And then the second time you plan to start working out, they need your help with something else. So while frustrating, there is a powerful opportunity here to take it slow and to reflect on what is important for you and what you want to kind of cultivate and harness in your life. Jupiter, your chart ruler, is retrograde, and Jupiter rules both Sagittarius and Pisces. So it's a quiet month. It's a month of not yets. It's a month of karmic tests. It's a month that will be like, is this what you truly want? There is an obstacle. If you're giving up, then maybe it's not what you truly wanted. If you're committing and like resting, taking breaks, rethinking your strategy, but not giving up, then you might actually get rewards pretty soon, potentially too, because Neptune and Saturn are starting to make their way out of Pisces. Neptune turns direct in your fourth house on December 10th. And in a month and a half, on January 26th, it's going to say goodbye to Pisces for the final time. It went into Pisces in 2012. And Saturn went in March 2023. And family dynamics could have felt confusing. Maybe there were some kind of energy of sacrificing things, and maybe certain family members created some type of difficulty in your life. And so as Neptune turns direct, it can help you set better boundaries. It can also help you maybe move if that's what you want, if you've been trying to relocate, but things were more complex for you somehow. I think Neptune will sort of take the rose-colored glasses off and will make it more clear to know where you're going or where actually you want to build your home. Mars enters Capricorn on December 15th, will stay until January 23rd, and then the Sun and Venus will join later in December. Mars is exalted in Capricorn, and all of these planets are entering your second house, encouraging you to make money, encouraging you to pay off debts. You have the strategy, the diligence, the perseverance of the exalted Mars. So it's actually quite good to ask for more, to make investments, to do some research, and to yeah, to like figure out how to improve your financial situation as well as connect with what is of value to you. Share how this resonates. For more, visit my website and book a year ahead reading. You can save $20 on the in-person one with the coupon code 2026. Or you can pick up a recorded version in the shop and save $40. And you can also book any other reading on there and pick up a candle or something. If you are a Capricorn rising, November brought a lot of attention to your houses of personal pleasure. Maybe there were some changes in your romantic life and your child's life, even completion of a creative project during the full moon in Taurus, as well as your social sector was activated with the Scorpio planets and Scorpio season. You could have worked on partnering up with others and maybe joined some groups of people, maybe explored new dreams. All the while, Mars was in Sagittarius, encouraging you to kind of slow down and get away. And then as Mercury stationed retrograde in November, there was even more of this like quiet, introspective energy. Let's not rush into things. Mercury is direct starting November 29th, and it stays in your 11th house of Scorpio until December 11th. So it's done with the retrograde, it has the clarity, right? And if you've been dealing with misunderstandings with friends, if you've been dealing with like a group project that was sort of stuck, or a friend has been struggling, or you weren't sure of the direction you wanted to take, Mercury going direct will offer guidance and may bring some solutions. I like that between December 6th and 7th, 2 days before and after, Mercury actually forms the third and last grand water trine with Jupiter in your 7th and Saturn in the 3rd. Really perfect for partnerships, contract signing, working with siblings, asking neighbors for help, writing projects, and any kind of like business negotiations. I think whatever if something really felt stuck and you were like, I don't know who to ask for help, things feel uncertain, it is going to get better as we come out of the retrograde. There's a full moon in Gemini, your 6th house, on December 4th. It completes the chapter started on May 26, 2025, when we had a new moon in Gemini, and offers opportunities to transform your work life by maybe asking for a promotion, asking for a raise, or finding a new job, right? Letting go of a job. Maybe you're also finishing a difficult project and celebrating an achievement that you've made. There could also be changes to your health, a realization that something needs to be different. Let's say you've been getting sick a lot and you realize that you need to commit to eating better and drinking lots of water and going on regular walks or exercising. So changes in that regard, as well as potentially your relationships with colleagues and the life of your animals as well. If you've been fostering some kittens, as one of you at least I know, maybe there is a change and the kittens get adopted, or maybe you decide to keep some of them. Who knows? The more difficult part of this month is the planets in Sagittarius squaring planets in Pisces. Specifically the Sun, Mars, Moon, Venus, and Mercury in Sagittarius all squaring Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. So planets in Sagittarius are in your 12th house. They are highlighting your desire to get away, your desire to rest, your desire to do creative and imaginative things. Like you want to escape the mundane through art, through pleasure, through imagination, yoga, astrology. Maybe you're signing up for my course. Come study with me. It begins in March, and it's going to be a predictive astrology course this time, teaching you how to foretell your future. Check it out. But yeah, maybe you want to get away. Maybe you want to like go into a cabin and write. However, there are going to be a ton of squares, 10 squares, in fact, including the new moon on December 19th in a square to Neptune. A lot of squares to Saturn and Neptune in Pisces in your 3rd house. And be ready for your schedule, for travel, for neighbors, for siblings, for communication to be heavy and difficult. So something in those areas feels like restrictive and limiting, and something keeps pulling you out of the dream that you're having. The answer here is to take it slow and to take a beat, to step back, because the ruler of both Sagittarius and Pisces is Jupiter, and Jupiter is retrograde in your 7th house of relationships. So maybe if things feel difficult, don't push harder. Take a step back and reconsider, rethink. December is not the month to necessarily start a bunch of new things. It could be a month in which you're dealing with obstacles and problem solving and like kind of sorting through the good and bad and figuring out what is the good, what is worth your time and energy versus what is not. Neptune turns direct in Pisces, your 3rd house, on December 10th, and until January 26th, it will travel through the final degree of Pisces and then will leave. Neptune has been in Pisces since 2012. Saturn has been in Pisces since March 2023. And so as Neptune and Saturn are both direct and they're making their way out of the sign, you can see some important developments and transformations around writing, communication, siblings, neighbors, business, your schedule, your community. Some things will fall off. There might be some kind of realization that, oh, I can't trust this neighbor because they don't have my best interest at heart. But there might also be some projects and dreams that you're recommitting to and growing from. So it's pretty exciting. And then we have a really fun shift around December 15th, and that is Mars leaving Sagittarius and entering Capricorn, your 1st house. It will be there until January 23rd. The Sun follows on December 21st, and Venus enters on December 24th for the next 3 weeks or so. This is exciting. Mars until December 15th is in your 12th house. It can bring disruptions to your sleep. It can bring a lot of restlessness, anxiety. And so when it leaves Sagittarius on the 15th and goes into your 1st house, you have the courage. You know how to use your energy well. You are more driven and ambitious and strategic at the same time. Venus from December 24th also gives you charm and ability to attract. So the world is your oyster, but keep in mind that the squares in December still suggest that it's best to take things slow and not push things, because the more you push, the more pushback you'll get, the more exhausted you'll feel, and the less results you'll see. So let me know how this resonates. For more, visit my website to save on the year ahead reading with the codes and information down below. Join my course or pick up one of my lovely creations, such as my 2026 planner or this beautiful exalted candle. It's perfect for you as a Capricorn rising. It falls in your 5th house of joy and pleasure and fun. If you are an Aquarius rising, November brought a lot of attention to your houses of career during Scorpio season and your houses of home and family with a full moon in Taurus. You may have completed some home improvement, home renovation projects, moved, or experienced a change in a family dynamic. A sibling had a baby, a parent moved in with you, or something along those lines. We also had a lot of action with Mars, Mercury retrograding, and the Sun in Sagittarius, your 11th house, highlighting your friendships, networks, your aspirations, and your role in the collective. Perhaps you've connected with new people or explored your pursuits and your desires, as well as maybe dealt with some confusion in that regard as Mercury went retrograde. Some misunderstandings and twisted wires in communication, right? As Mercury tends to bring a lot of that our way. Mercury goes direct on November 29th, so in December it's direct, fresh from the retrograde, in Scorpio, your 10th house, until December 11th. And we have a beautiful 3rd and last groundwater trine between Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn on December 6th and 7th, 2 days before, 2 days after. So this speeds up communication in regards to your public life, your career, and your professional goals. You may be getting good news. You may be getting a promotion, a pay raise around this time, especially if it's something, if the conversation has like happening since October, something that you've been like involved in, and maybe things that got slowed down and delayed a little bit during the retrograde. Mercury being direct in the house of career until December 11th can speed that up. We have a full moon in Gemini, your 5th house of romance, pleasure, parenthood, and children, on December 4th. It completes the chapter started with the new moon in Gemini on May 26th. So take a look back. Let's say you started a new relationship back then. Maybe now you find out you're pregnant, or you make a relationship official, or you've been, maybe back then you picked up a new hobby and now you realize that you actually love it so much you want to make a career out of it. Maybe it's astrology for you. My predictive course begins in March 2026, so join us to learn to forecast your future. Astrology is a secret superpower that will give you advantage in your life. So whatever it is, there will be changes, right? The changes on December 4th and the full moon can also relate to your children. If you have grown-up kids, maybe they're going through some kind of shift, moving towns, changing jobs, getting engaged, married. A child getting pregnant can also show up through this house. A release of a bad habit, I can also see, like a need to let go of partying and maybe transition into a different role somehow. Now to the more difficult portion of this month, and that is basically the entire month, is the squares between 5 planets in Sagittarius, including the new moon, and Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. So there's like 10 squares, 5 planets in Sag, 2 planets in Pisces. So each of them aspects one of those twice, right? And the Sun, Venus, Mars, Mercury, and a new moon in Sagittarius in your 11th house are all excited and all direct you to a new role in the collective. There may be a new opportunity, somehow a chance to get involved with the world at large, to start a podcast, to join a nonprofit organization, to get your friends together and throw a party, to plan a wedding, right? Some kind of collective group project that you're working on. But the squares to Saturn and Neptune suggest that there is some kind of roadblocks, restrictions, delays, karmic tests that involve money and values. So you're throwing a party, but nobody's agreeing about the budget. Or you're looking to start like a new podcast or something, but you don't have enough money to finance or something. Like there might be some kind of, even honestly, your own rigidity can sometimes show up as an obstacle. But it is a month of a lot of like not yets, a lot of slowdowns. Maybe you're even like fighting with friends over the fact that they owe you money and they're not paying you back. Or it doesn't have to be money related. Like I said, it can also be about your values and priorities, like what is important to you versus what is important to them. The interesting fact is that Sagittarius and Pisces are both ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is currently retrograding through your 6th house. So Jupiter suggests that you're questioning what is it that you want to work on professionally. You're maybe feeling a little bit unsure in terms of your goals and in terms of your time and how much time you have and how much energy you have and how healthy you feel. So there might be a sense of like things feeling like they're not quite working out, like you're not agreeing with other people, you're not getting the money that you want, but it's for a good reason. It's actually for a reason of like taking things slowly. There may be a positive shift around December 10th as Neptune turns direct in your 2nd house, but because Jupiter is still retrograde, I don't know how positive of a shift it's going to be. One thing is for sure, on December 10th, Neptune begins its exit out of Pisces. And on January 26th, it's going to leave Pisces for good. And it first went into Pisces in 2012. So you're closing a cycle of some kind of financial confusion, or even confusion in regards to your priorities and your values and your goals. And Saturn is also direct. And with Saturn, you're closing cycles that got started in March 2023. So there's gonna start to be a lot more like clarity in regards to your goals, in regards to your resources, but maybe not in December. Give it a little bit of time. Mars enters Capricorn, your 12th house, on December 15th. Will stay here until January 23rd. The Sun follows on the 21st of the month and Venus follows on the 24th. And you are retreating from the world. You are retreating from being as visible. You're maybe traveling, getting away somehow. You could also be working on something, but you prefer to work alone. Even like exercising on your own is likely. Dating someone quietly without telling others. There may be like things might still be going on in your life, but you're feeling a lot more like reflective and introspective. If you're seeking more, visit my website to join my subscription or to pick up a reading. My year ahead is currently discounted. Save 20 on the in-person one with the code 2026, or save 40 on the recorded reading in the shop. You can also join my course, as mentioned, begins in March, or pick up my lovely creations. All of that is at anastasiadoesastrology.com. If you are a beautiful Pisces rising, November brought a lot of attention to your houses of everyday life. With the full moon in the 3rd, you maybe completed a writing project, changed your schedule, updated your technology. Maybe you've committed to harnessing a skill or started talk therapy as well, or worked through some kind of issues in therapy, because 3rd house is communication, right? So maybe some kind of breakthroughs in communication happened in November. There was also a lot of action in the 9th house with planets in Scorpio, and you may have studied, traveled, or planned travel, dealt with legal matters, and sought support from religion and philosophy. Finally, your professional house was also active in November with Mars and Sagittarius, but Mercury went retrograde, potentially brought some glitches, some confusion with communication and with bosses, maybe encouraged some introspection and general questioning of like, am I moving in the right direction? And of course, as Mercury went backwards, you maybe started questioning going back to school or moving or figuring out like a whole different kind of path for yourself. Mercury does go direct on November 29th. So in December, it is direct. The first 11 days, it's still in Scorpio, helping you helping you sort of get clear on the journey, get your maps all organized, get your direction figured out. So this could be a good time to apply for documents, to finish some kind of education projects, finish the papers that you've been writing, deal with lawyers, deal with travel matters. Maybe you'll finish planning a trip. There is a very supportive 3rd and last grand water trine between Jupiter in the 5th and Saturn in the 1st. So whatever's happening in regards to education, law, travel, publishing, it somehow inspires more joy in your life and it helps you understand yourself. So it's like, you're reading a book about Buddhism and you're feeling more connected with yourself, or I do have a Pisces rising student in my class, you're studying astrology and it helps you find more joy and more purpose in life. Speaking of my class, I'm going to teach level 2 in March 2026. It will be all about predictive astrology this time. So using annual perfections, transits, and solar return to forecast your future. Come study with us. There's a full moon in your 4th house of home, family, and living situation on December 4th. Take a look back at May 26th when we had a new moon in Gemini. Maybe you got a roommate. Maybe you moved to a new place. Maybe a family member got a cat. And so this full moon is a completion of that chapter, right? A neighbor moves out, a roommate moves out, or you sign a contract, put them on your lease, or like family dynamic may shift. A cat may become a new family member. The full moon in the 4th is like a change around property and real estate as well, right? So selling, buying, redecorating, completing a home improvement project, and changes in relationships with family. Like something might actually happen in your father's life and it's less about you, but it's more about them and what's happening to them. The difficult energy this month is we have 5 planets, including new moon in Sagittarius in your 10th house, all squaring one by one. We have 10 squares total. It's a lot. It's so much. Saturn and Neptune in your 1st house. So planets in Sagittarius are work oriented, and you're driven to reach career goals. You're driven to have, to do work that brings you pleasure. You're very sort of interested in starting new things professionally. However, the squares of Saturn and Neptune in the 1st suggests that there are still some lessons, there's still some obstacles and some like karma that needs to be resolved around your health, the way you take care of yourself, your body, how much you like exercise, your mind. Maybe you need to do therapy or commit to taking better care of yourself. Rigidity, I feel like I said it all 3 times, so forgive me, but yeah, take good care of yourself, Pisces. Rigidity as well. If there is some type of fears you have or self-doubt, or you second guess yourself, right? Like Saturn and Neptune are in the 1st house, so they are you. So you're being Saturnian, you're being maybe too negative, you're being Piscean, you're being like Neptunian, and maybe creating some confusion and self-doubt in your life. So how can you be a better friend to yourself? But be ready that December has a ton of tests and frustrating energy. So it's not a month of a lot of outward, I think, achievement, because it will be a little bit more about taking things slow and 1 step forward, 2 steps back, or maybe just like sitting and waiting it out could be good. Neptune goes direct in Pisces, your 1st house, on December 10th. On January 26th, it will leave Pisces for good, completing the 12-year, 13-year chapter. It first went in 2026. Even 14 years, right? Sorry, first went in 2012. So first went in 2012, leaves in January 2026. So it's like 14 years, so long. It could bring more clarity. It could bring more self-awareness in terms of which habits you have that are serving you and which ones are destructive, and may also bring a distinction, make you aware of a distinction of like a healthy sacrifice and unhealthy sacrifice, and healthy boundaries and unhealthy lack of boundaries. Mars enters Capricorn, your 11th house, on December 15th. Will stay here until January 23rd. The Sun and Venus will join later in December. This highlights your house of friendships, networks, community, social media, encourages you to go out there, to connect with friends, to start projects that involve your friends. Maybe you're getting a friend to do a podcast with you, or you are leading friends in a soccer match or something. Like there could be a lot more pleasure and joy to be found in social dynamics, especially when Venus enters on December 24th. Expect more parties, more invites, more get-togethers, and kind of makes sense because at that point we're like at the end of the year and the New Year's is right around the corner, which is kind of insane to think that 2025 is like basically almost passed us by. If you want to know more about 2026 and what it will bring you, I am doing a sale on the year ahead reading in December and January. Save $20 from the in-person reading in the reading section of my chart by using the code 2026, or save $40 by getting a recorded reading option in the shop. So thank you for that. Thank you for listening. Check out my website for other things to study with me, for my candles, for my planner, and all of those things. I hope the frustrating aspects are not too bad. The good news is we've dealt with these energies before, and sometimes when it's the last aspect, it can actually bring resolution. So breathe, move slowly, and trust that the universe has your back. And I'll be here to keep telling you what's coming up and what's ahead. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Hype my video, please, and I'll see you soon.